listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, I'm Steve Thomas for Habitat for Humanity Restore. Habitat Restores are nonprofit home improvement stores and donation centers that sell new and gently used furniture, building materials, and appliances to the public at a fraction of the retail cost. The Ulster County Restore at 406 Route 28 in Kingston needs your donations. Call our hotline at 845-853-7499 to schedule your free pickup. And thanks.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day, we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good,
Others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when something doesn't seem quite right
that it's time to pay attention.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This programming is brought to you by the Friends of Kevin Cahill. As a strong advocate of local broadcasting, Assemblymember Cahill urges you to support Kingston Community Radio with your time and donations. Your contributions keep KCR vital and on the air at FM 92.5, AM 920, and on the web at mykcr.org. Please join Assemblymember Cahill and send your gifts of $10, $25, or more to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. Together, let's keep KCR alive.
It's Thunder Thursday, and I'm not Tony Marmo, and neither is Don Williams.
You don't look like him either. Good morning.
Where is Tony today? Has he got a rotary thing?
He said something.
He won money on the Derby, I heard. And
did he really?
He was
a
lot of money. So if you know Tony and you need a handout, Tony has got more money right now.
I'm going to make him pay for dinner then tomorrow night, Don.
He should pay for dinner. He should pay for a banquet fare. He is flush. I've never seen anyone that won that much money on one race in my life.
Do you know Baffert bought that horse for $1,000? Bob, the guy, his trainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he bought that horse for $1,000. Smart.
I take it he did well.
Yeah, no, it paid, I think, what was it? I think the exacta paid, I don't know. I bet the 14 and 15.
I'm pretty sure that it wasn't a Derby winner for sure.
No, it went off at like 22 to 1 or something. It wasn't one of the favorites. I didn't even look. There was 20 horses in the race. I never even looked at it. So.
20 horses, my God.
Well, the Preakness is a week from Saturday. They'll be down to 10 now, so a lot easier to bet.
Tony will still have plenty of money left over.
Sure.
By the Preakness.
I understand I thought he was at West Point. I thought maybe he got a senatorial appointment or something.
Oh, God, really?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what a janitorial appointment is. I saw general maintenance on the door in West Point. Perhaps he's that kind of office.
I have to tell you, as much as I've been here a few times now on Thursdays with Tony, your intro of Thunder Thursdays.
I copied him.
I don't care what Elliot Auerbach says about how much he loves Tony.
And he does. Who doesn't? Who doesn't love Tony?
The sad part is he's probably listening to this.
No, he's not. He may listen to a replay of it just to make sure that we're talking about him.
Absolutely.
Not to make sure we're not.
I think in emails we discussed a little bit about whether or not we should take Tony's name in vain.
Yes.
I think I violated the promise already. So. Hey, it's good being here, and
it's good to be here too. I agree. It's
how do you feel about getting up this early in the morning?
I don't like it. I don't like it one little bit.
It's not as bad now. The first show I was on with Tony,
that
guy, was our first blizzard. Was it January or December? Do you remember, Lawrence?
I thought it was. Yeah, it was.
I'm
last
sorry.
year.
Eat your breakfast.
I think that raises the listenership. You probably had a really.
I had to walk here. Couldn't even get the car.
Is that right?
And I'm only up at Mountain View Avenue.
Oh no! That when you walked down here that morning, that was like
Mountain View Avenue in Hurley.
No. It was the day we got the 22 inches. It was that.
It was a lot. Couldn't
it
get
was
the
a lot
car
of
out of the driveway. The roads had not been plowed. So I came down here, and Tony and Lawrence looked at me like I was out of my mind.
Well, I'm sure, like me, getting up early in the morning is made a bit easier by the salary.
You know something? It's the salary that we're getting today.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't think so, guy. I don't. People should know that we're here as volunteers, and wouldn't have it any other way.
No, I'm getting paid a lot.
Paid.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you were. I didn't know you were unaware of that. Yeah, Lawrence and I are making a lot of money.
Tony told me I couldn't really hide, but Lawrence has already told me he makes nothing. So
I don't make squat.
That was one way of saying he makes nothing.
Well, yeah. He also said that for the Kentucky Derby, he went to Florida.
I didn't say I went to Kentucky. I said I went to Gulfstream to bet the Derby.
That's right. He went to Florida.
I don't know
for the
anybody
Kentucky Derby.
what is that? Louisville or Lexington? I don't even know. I know where's Churchill
Where
Downs?
is it?
in Louisville?
Churchill Downs.
It's in Kentucky.
Yeah,
but
but
is
where
it
in
Louisville
Kentucky?
or Lexington, Kentucky?
Oh, I don't know where.
I don't know either. I don't even know anybody that lives in Kentucky.
Maybe
most people I find when the Derby, they go to Florida. So they don't know. They don't know where the track is either.
Yeah, I mean, well, I would have gone to Saratoga, but it's only open in.
Did you watch the Derby?
Yeah,
Lawrence?
I went to Gulfstream. I was
what
there all
kind of-
day.
What kind of hat did you have on?
That's for the ladies, dude. But I did drink a
Hey,
mint
Aaron
julep, and I
Rodgers
tell
had
you,
one
it's
on.
not. Those mint juleps are not that good.
Aaron Rodgers had one on. Didn't have quite the same number of flowers.
He may end up the host of Jeopardy.
He was. He
If he
did
doesn't
it
sign
a
with the
couple
Broncos
times
first.
already. He was quite. It appears he will not be playing at all for Green Bay, and he is
That's kind of a
really
shocker.
sly.
I had no idea.
What do they
Oh,
call
he's-
it?
He's
Passive aggressive? Is that what they call that? In
Well, he is
psychological terms.
I hate to make this pun, but he is a passer. I mean, that's what he gets paid. So passive aggressive is right in his
He's
wheelhouse.
occasionally aggressive too, but
Yeah, he is. He's a
He
competitor.
has played
He is
this
a competitor.
wonderfully. He says nothing other than he has his friends leak the stuff.
That's right. That's right.
This morning it was
He's
Brett
very
Favre
savvy.
saying he loves the fans. He's very political. He should run for office.
He might. You never know. He might.
Well, maybe not in Wisconsin.
No, not in Wisconsin. He won't run.
Maybe he'll fly down to Florida with Lawrence.
He might. Well,
next Derby.
I was telling you about the horse guy that I met because I don't know much
Yeah,
about horses.
we were off air at the time. It's a
You
great
meet
story.
you meet unusual people right here, right in this area. It's amazing. People from all over the world end up here. It's always amazed me. The other day, I went out for a drink, and I met a pirate. Now, I didn't know he was a pirate. I saw him sitting on a stool, but he looked like he might be a
He was
pirate.
at a bar.
At a bar, and I asked him. I said, excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't mean to stare, but are you a pirate? And he said, and I quote, he said, "Arr, matey, I be's a pirate." And I said, listen, I never met a pirate. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions? And he said, "Arr, if you buy me a pint of grog, you can ask away." And I said, all right. So I called the bartender over and I said, I'll have a Doers on the Rocks and give my pirate friend here a grog, is it? So he got his grog and he said, all right, what is it you want to know? And I said, well, let's start with that leg of yours there. Is that wood? And he said, oh, that's right. It's me peg. I said, how do you get a thing like that? He said, it was a horrible story. He said, I was on the main deck in a raging typhoon, and a rogue wave washed me off the deck into the drink, and me mates pulled me out of the water. And as they did, a great white jumped up and took me leg off at the knee. I said, boy, that is horrible. I said, and that hook where your hand should be, is there a story for that? He said, it's another horrible story. So we boarded another ship, and a man much better with a saber than I must admit. He took off my hand at the wrist, and that's how he got me hook. I said, and that patch where your eye should be. And he said, as you can guess, it's another horrible story. He said, I was looking at the mainmast, and a seagull flew over, and I got a dropping in my eye. I said, you lost your eye from a seagull dropping. And he said, no, first day with me new hook. And then I had another scotch, of course.
You should have thought of a career, obviously in entertaining, but as a lawyer. You could have told some Great.
I didn't know there was room for that. I didn't know there was room for that.
Not in front of me, guy, but with other judges, sure.
Yes.
Attorneys can get away with anything.
Well, and that brings up something I wanted to ask you. I wanted your opinion. I know that many years ago, it didn't seem like that long, but I thought about this on the way here because I wanted to discuss it with you, just out of curiosity. Many years ago, longer than I initially thought, there seemed to be less restrictions on sentences that judges imposed. Is that right?
Yeah, when I started 79 as an assistant DA, I was in front of Frank Vogt, Judge Vogt.
Right.
I still call him Judge Vogt.
Yeah.
What a man.
Yeah.
But there were very few restrictions on sentencing, prosecution, deciding how hard and aggressive to prosecute is up to the DA. At that time, sentencing was up to the judge.
Right.
You had very few parameters.
And the recourse, if people didn't like the job you're doing, was they wouldn't reelect you as judge. Is that right?
Well, the first recourse, if your sentence was draconian or harsh and excessive, defendants have a right to appeal all parts of the proceeding, including the sentence. Now, it's rare. My sentences were tough. My trials were very fair. I bent over.
I think you were known for both of those things. I think you were known to be fair but tough. And what else could you? What could you want?
I thought that's what people would want and expect, and that's what I did. But
you did it a long time, did you not?
I was judge for 10 years, DA for 9, and an chief assistant DA for like 20 before that. So it's 40 years.
And not once did you tell a pirate joke. I mean, in all honesty,
not from the bench.
So it brings to mind.
So now, yes, there are
a
great
judge
limitations
in Rosendale.
Town judge.
Al.
Morelli.
Al Morelli. He
quite a character, nice man.
He was. I was. The court there was right in the town hall.
Sure.
And I was in the town hall for something, waiting for something, and he had a trial going on, or a hearing, not a trial.
Yeah, they don't.
And there was a young man there, and apparently he was a drug addict, and he had stolen some stereos, TV, something like that, from his landlord, and that's what they were there for.
Okay.
And again, just out of curiosity, I had no vested interest in any of it. I just heard the judge, Al Morelli, say, "So, what did you sell everything? You don't have anything?" He said, "No." He said, "What'd you do with the money? Do you have the money?"
After the fellow pled guilty, I did.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
He's at sentencing, yeah.
Yeah, he's at sentencing. And he said, well, I spent the money and I bought drugs, and the money's gone, the drugs are gone. And the landlord was very upset. And he said, "Well, are you employed?" He said, "No." He said, do you have a trade? Are you in between? He said, "No." He said, "Well," at that point, it was so informal, the landlord who he had stolen from raised a ruckus about something, which he said, he said, "What do you want me to do? I can't get blood from a stone." He said, "Here's what we're going to do." He said, "In all honesty, I go by your house every day when I go home, and it's a mess. It's an eyesore. You're going to buy the paint, and you're going to paint his entire house. You're going to learn a trade. By the time you're done with that apartment building, you'll know how to paint."
The victim's house.
Yeah, and your house is atrocious. I drive by it, and it's an eyesore. It needs a coat of paint, and that's that. And I remember leaving. Again, I got my permit or whatever I was there for, thinking, well, that's justice. That's justice.
First of all, at the town level and the city court level, it's dramatically different.
Oh, I'm sure.
They have misdemeanors or less.
Yeah.
In county court, it's the worst of the worst. They're felonies.
Oh, sure.
Or greater. So, secondly, back then, you could.
Well, somebody told me he got in trouble for that, though.
You can do sentences, but you have to, for example, making the defendant paint an individual's house can raise all kinds of red
I could
flags.
imagine.
That you really cannot do, or you'll be in front of the Ethics Commission, which the judge was a good judge.
Yeah.
But occasionally, even then, when things were much looser, he would maybe go beyond the boundaries of what the Office of Court Administration and other supervising entities would like. So, but you can do creative things like that, but you have to be careful.
Right.
There are agencies
And like you say,
now,
a small town like that, where it's misdemeanors and below, is a whole different story. And by the way,
sure.
that kid did a great job on that house. That house is the nicest
And,
looking house in the block.
It may have been.
Took him all summer.
It may have been the first step in this young man realizing, man, there are benefits, there are rewards for working hard.
Yep.
Number one, you're staying out of jail, which I'm sure was the primary motive. This was going to be an alternative to his incarceration, I imagine, by the judge. And so you stay out of jail, number one. But then when those people do that, they start realizing, there is something to say about working hard and trying to stay clean. Staying clean is tough.
Yeah. So, I don't want to wear out my welcome here, but
please,
Judge Richter.
I was going to bring Judge Richter's name up. Go ahead.
When I was a kid, we used to go where City Hall is again now, but when it was originally City Hall, way before they had built the one downtown. And we were just kids. We'd go and sit in the back of the courtroom and watch it. You didn't dare make a sound, though, in his court. And he'd give you the look when you walked in because you were kids. You had to be quiet and sit there. As long as you didn't say anything or giggle or anything, he was really something to watch in action.
He was a unique and a very good judge. And when I got out of law school, I was admitted to practice January 1st of 1979. On January 2nd, I was appearing in front of Judge Richter.
Is that right?
In the city. He was the city of Kingston judge for many years.
Yeah.
He was a no-nonsense, take-no-prisoners. He and my dad was a frogman in World War II.
Oh, was that right?
And he and Judge Richter knew each other. They were both brought up downtown Kingston.
Yeah.
And served time together in World War II, so they both knew each other well. That didn't matter. And I didn't expect it to matter.
Right.
But he was one tough judge, but also he had some seriously creative sentences.
Yes, he did.
And he got in trouble for that, too. And,
Yeah.
And, there are boundaries. Now the boundaries are very restricted.
Yeah, yeah.
But there are boundaries, and there are reasons for them. At some point, it gets crazy.
Yeah.
Discretion has been taken away from judges incredibly. Now, Guy, I wish you would come into my court.
No, I'm glad that
to visit.
Oh, to watch, yes, that would have been good.
Of course, many of the people that appeared in front of my court thought they were coming for a short-time visit. That didn't always happen.
Right.
But the people that I know, rarely would people I know. My wife, who's deceased, never went to court. As a DA or chief assistant, she came in to watch me try cases. But as a judge, no. My kids never went into court. But some of the people I met at Kennard, where Lawrence frequents, actually came into court, and they were stunned. They were stunned to begin with because they saw the serious side, but they were also stunned because they heard the reputation of me being very tough, fair but tough.
I think that's the reputation.
And they saw the fair part, very much so, and they were really even kind of surprised. They also saw the tough.
So were you cognizant of how many people were in the court?
You're using lawyer term. You should have been a lawyer. Cognizant.
Listen, that's not exclusively a law term.
I really noticed it rarely. And one very quick story. My wife did come to court once. She's passed back in 2016. She was great lady. Interior designer. And I had to redo my chambers. That's judicial talk for my office. Nice office. She was great. So she goes, well, how am I going to get I said, just come into court. How am I going to get attention? Just walk in and make sure you get my attention. I'll take a recess. I'll bring you in, and then I got to go back on the bench. Anyway, I didn't know when she was coming. Courtroom in the beginning, especially when I took over, the court was always packed. There was a backlog of cases. I'm trying to send a real strong message. So this is an answer to the question, did I notice people in the court?
Yeah.
I had these two guerrillas that were assigned security guards to protect me because I was really very tough, especially at the outset. Court officers.
No kidding.
Well, they come into court anyway. We happened to get two of the biggest guys because they knew that it would be problematic.
These are police officers or bailiffs?
They're actually from the Office of Court Administration. They're with the Unified Court System out of New York State.
Oh, I see.
It's a good job.
Yeah.
But we knew, so they gave me two of the bigger ones in the beginning, and courtroom would be packed. I'm in the middle of sentencing a young woman, and you get tunnel, you should as a judge, you get tunnel vision, you're focused on what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're trying to send a strong message, and I don't really notice, except I'm beginning to hear something going on. And I still continue. Finally, I hear one of the officers say, "Ladies, sit down or get out." I look up, and there is my wife, sheepishly being led out of the courtroom. My wife got tossed. Now, this guy that tossed my wife.
These two huge guys tossed your wife?
Not physically, but screaming loud enough that it got my attention. So she leaves. I look at the officer. I won't mention his name. Great guy. Really nice guy. And I said, Gene, I'll give his first name. I said, Gene, I want to applaud you for following my request that you keep order in the courtroom. But did you know that the person you just threw out was my wife? He went completely white. He thought he was going to be serving time up in Plattsburgh or somewhere. He was waiting for the transfer.
It's funny how you start before the story and mention my wife never came to see me. Actually, she came to see me once. Well, of course she wouldn't come back after that.
But the best part was when she went out, and when I said that to Gene, everybody laughed, but then he was really scared. I said, "Don't worry about it. I've been wanting to do that for months."
Oh, boy.
Well, I thought at the time, to lighten the mood, the whole place
I'll bet your chambers at home turned out to be the couch for a bit.
I went home that night, and there was my wife. And she was such a really nice, pleasant, calm lady. And she goes, "What happened?" I explained the situation. She goes, "Well, the one thing I really don't understand, why after I left was everybody roaring, uproarious laughter?" I said, I cannot release all the details. That's a true story. So, yes, she never came back into court. But, when you're, especially the cases I had, Guy, they were murders and rapes, child abuse, so you should be focused.
Oh,
now,
absolutely.
Having said that, I would not take many breaks, but the lawyers would have to have breaks. And there were times that when they were leaving, then I would notice who was there. So I would notice on occasion if people came from Kennard to watch.
Yeah,
I would. It's hard when I had some high-profile cases.
Yeah,
and the media's there, and I think the media should be there with cameras.
I agree.
But you've got to control it because the
because it
lawyers
can become
will
a
act.
circus.
You remember the O.J. Simpson case with Judge Ito?
Yeah,
It was a circus.
Yeah, it was a circus.
He was performing for the camera.
Oh, right. And the DA, they had a fashion critic there talking about who was wearing what. And I know they were aware of that. I mean, it became I don't know. It's an iconic trial, but I don't know how much of it is from the legal aspect and how much of it is from the circus aspect that everyone remembers it so well. Right from the beginning. With that white van in the middle of Lawrence would know what game it was. What game was on when O.J. did his escape in that white van that they interrupted on every channel?
It was a baseball game because it was in the summer, but I forget what
it
was.
It was a big game.
The Bronco or whatever.
Yeah, the Bronco, that's right. And right from that point on, everything was
was it a basketball game? I'm sorry.
I don't remember now, but I don't think it was a regular game. I think it was a big game because that was one of the complaints.
Let me Google it. I'll get back to you.
And even that, it got media attention. All the networks had it, and
the game.
They were all. It seemed like everything was being played for the audience as much as it was for the actual the mechanics of the trial itself.
Right.
They had like a color commentary.
It was Game 5. I'm sorry, let me interrupt you. It was Game 5 of the NBA Finals. The Rockets and Knicks were on during the O.J. Simpson Bronco chase.
Yeah.
I know I was watching a game when
there was a color commentator like he does at tennis whispering.
It's horrible.
And describing.
What about those poor officers? What are they going to do? Are they going to force this car off the road? And instead, it was like
helicopters, news. It was ridiculous.
I have I mean, the media has a job, but especially today's media, I have a real problem with it, Guy. Today's media, it's
different than it was. And it's different than it was because right now, free speech is going to be an item. It's always been it, right? It's always been something that needs to be defended, and deciding what falls under that heading and doesn't is very, very difficult, but made more difficult now. See, now when I was a kid,
damn, you should have been a lawyer.
There were airwaves, right? As you remember.
Right.
You got 6 and 10. On a clear day, you might get 2.
Absolutely.
And that was it. And those airwaves were governed by the FCC. So there were certain things, and there was, certain restrictions and rules and guidelines that they had to follow. You wouldn't curse. You wouldn't have any objectionable programming before a certain time.
You could not say.
That's right. Right. Yeah, and some of it was just silly, but
Right.
it was the mores and taboos of the time. So,
who was a comedian did a routine on that?
George Carlin.
George Carlin.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
So then cable comes along, and it's no holds barred, anything goes. And the reason, they said, is because you have to pay for that. So you can always not watch it.
Sure.
Well, you could always not watch regular TV too.
Sure.
So the guidelines sort of change. Well, now the whole world watches a post. Could be your post, could be anybody's post. And everybody gets their 15 minutes of fame with maybe no talent at all and no nothing, and it's more than 15 minutes.
No knowledge.
And just an opinion, which may or may not be factual. And free speech, it's getting tough. It's
pretty hard for anyone, especially if you're a public official, to prove libel or slander is one of the most difficult things at all to prove.
And do you think it's more difficult now than it was?
I think it's almost impossible to prove libel and slander now. Truly is, especially take a look at social media. I mean, you can be tweeting things and have a Twitter account even under a different name. People won't. How are you going to find out to begin with who the actual tweeter is? And that exists across social media completely.
Right, and reposting.
But secondly, in order to sue a public official, whatever that description is, you not only have to prove that it's inaccurate, you have to prove that it was not just negligence, you have to prove that it was done with malice, meaning...
And do you have to have damages as well?
Well, damages is a part of it too, sure. But the key is, how do you prove that somebody had a malicious intent if they write something terrible? It's virtually impossible.
Yeah.
Unless somebody heard the person say, I'm going to take this guy down.
Now, and I'm not mentioning this because you said malicious intent, but I want to mention, in case my boss is listening, that I work for Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union. I haven't mentioned that once, and Tony always throws it in case I forget, who are gracious enough to let me be here at this hour. I think that's good. That's a spot.
That's very nice of you to applaud your boss, but he's gracious enough to let you be here at 7 o'clock in the morning? I don't mean
gracious probably was not the most accurate adjective. I wouldn't normally be at work here, but I will be a little late for work.
Oh, okay.
And I'm
He's
working
a good
back
boss.
office stuff.
What's your boss's name?
It's a she, actually, Melissa Walsh.
Well, I think she may have been here on one occasion. I know we've had people.
Well, she's in charge of marketing for the credit union, so she certainly might have.
So she's not the president of...
No, that's Wayne. That's Wayne Winkler.
Okay.
I am sure you've bumped into Wayne. He's out. Wayne's a great guy. I've known him a long time. I started working. I've had 2 tours of duty at the credit union. My first thing.
That's really interesting. You call that a tour of duty?
I think
that's normally associated with being compelled to serve.
It was compelling. I think eating, drinking, clothing your family is a compelling reason to find
that
gainful
is an
employment.
entirely appropriate but different definition of compelled that I was referring to. However,
compelled and compelling, the nomenclature means
they can be the same.
They can, but they don't have to be.
That's not the intent that I had.
Listen, I think you're playing the prosecution role at this point.
I've gone back to the days as cross-examined.
If you're not willing to feed my family right now, we're going to just end my...
No, absolutely, and that is obviously compelling. So
it is compelling.
Are you married, Guy?
I am married. I got married.
How many years?
It'll be 13 years in June.
Good for you.
First time. Now, I'm
your first marriage.
First.
That is, I only had one, but that's highly unusual.
It is. Just before 52, I got married. Days before I turned 52. Well, talk about compelling. That whole to death do us part thing meant at that point in my life was like, I didn't expect to live past 58. So to death do us part was like, yeah, whatever.
Sure. A week
no problem. I'll have my car probably till I die.
Well, that's an oath that people rarely follow. The oath.
Well, not me. I took it very serious. Now, of course, part of it is it took over half a century to find the right woman.
Yeah, exactly. What? I mean, I don't want to.
I didn't wear white. I found a lot of wrong women. I'm not saying, you know what I mean. I'm not saying that I waited.
But why? What was? I didn't get married till I was 38. But what was the principal motivation?
It sounds, Don, it sounds so corny, especially today, where everybody in the world is a cynic, and probably for good reason. I fell in love with her. I mean, it was like somebody hit me over the head with a bat, just like you see in cartoons and all that tacky literature. It's exactly that. And I think what happens is you give up on that being a real thing. Especially after 50 years, I didn't really expect to ever get married.
The infatuation part may be gone.
And I was past the age where that was a factor anymore anyway. Right. I was jaded. So,
it's called wisdom. I look at it as wisdom. That's it, wisdom. You were wise.
And when I told people that know me forever, very close friends and family, I was getting married, the reaction was universal. They all started laughing and went, yeah, right. I said, no, really, I think I'm going to get married.
That's great.
She was worth every minute of the wait, too.
13 years. That's amazing. And it does evolve. As you say, the relationship evolves. But obviously it was far more than...
As my waistline evolved.
I hope to meet your wife sometime, so
I would
hear
love
you
to
try
meet
to
my
explain how the evolution of your marriage is very similar to your waistline getting bigger.
Well, I think there's a definite correlation. I really do, and it may be a good thing.
Yeah, I hope so.
So I've recently found out that I'm diabetic. So there are some adjustments to be made, and it turns out.
How old are you now?
I'm going to be 65 in June.
Okay.
It turns out that now I eat what my food used to eat.
Are you going? What is it? Organic, vegetarian?
Staying
away from carbs.
Mostly, I tend to. I'm almost an extremist, So for a while, I was just eating, like I'd eat salad and maybe breakfast, maybe no breakfast, and then I found out steak was okay. So I was eating steak and shrimp at night.
It's the carbs you got to stay away from.
Yeah, so it'd be the only carbs I'd have for the day, and I'd have a steak at night.
Right.
Every night. Every night.
So how's your heart and your blood pressure?
Well, terrible. Thank you for asking. But I have a different doctor for that.
Yeah.
I make him happy.
You're 65. I'm now just turned 68 a short time ago, and I have a whole series of maladies that I played sports as a kid.
Yeah, it comes with the age. There's not much to be done.
Age, and it's amazing.
Do you walk? Are you outside?
Well, when I was a judge, my exercise regimen basically was going from chambers to the bench and back. So during that time, when I became a judge, as DA, I was very active. Became a judge, I stopped playing golf. It was all consuming.
I thought you were obligated to play golf if you were a judge.
The judges that I appeared in front of and knew they did play a lot of golf. But I approached it a little, and they were great judges. I approached it a little different. Gave golf up.
My dad was a bartender at Twofskill Golf Club for most of my life.
How many years ago?
Well, he died in 81, so quite a few.
I may have been a member back then.
Well, there were. When I was a kid and I used to go see him. The bar was downstairs where the locker room is now. And then, well, he was there when it was upstairs as well. Him and the only bartenders they had for many years was my father, and then one day a week George Hughes. He worked on Mondays on my father's day off.
George was the greens.
Yes, he was.
He was in charge of greens.
He was
in charge of the clubhouse. He was in charge of and the bartender.
And the only other person there early on was Alex Gerlach.
I didn't know. Now, Mr. Gerlach left or passed before I became a member, but George Hughes What a great guy. What
Yeah,
a
he
character.
was. Yeah, he was. But there were almost exclusively at one point when I was very young, it was almost all doctors and lawyers, the membership. It really
Lawyers,
was.
Judges, sure.
Yeah.
And then
And doctors, right.
many of
Lawyers and
them
judges.
migrated up to Wiltwick. But
Yes.
I when I was DA, I played, Guy. But if I took one afternoon off a week and I was at the golf course.
Would you go there, Twopskill?
I was at DA.
Of course,
I was
right?
an assistant DA. I ended up going to Wiltwick later when I was DA. But
Yeah.
I could take one afternoon a week, go back and get the work done at night. And while I was gone, the DA's office continued. There were 20 or 30 assistant DAs.
Wow.
As the county court judge, if you take an afternoon off, stuff stops. There's nothing happens. So I would take 1 week vacation a year.
It's not a
I
lot.
said, that's crazy.
Especially a stressful job like that. That's not a lot of vacation.
The stress of being a judge was principally sentencing day, and I know there are many people, lawyers and defendants, who would think I felt no stress issuing sentence. As a DA, it's relatively easy to get up and recommend stiff sentences.
Right, because you're not the final say.
You're not the final
That's
say.
right.
When you're the person that is locking some typically young man, up for lengthy periods of time because it was deserved and it was just, but you're the one that's doing it.
Yeah.
And suddenly when you're sentencing most of these people, they're no longer the tough guys. Now
Yeah, sure.
They know they got a fair trial. They were convicted, but they're the toughness kind of.
I can't imagine what there's always a point where the reality of things sets in and the weight of it. That must be, on both ends. I know that you did it for a long time. Yeah. But
it never gets easy.
No,
But
and it's a different. Well, it's probably not always different. But there's probably some people you saw fairly regularly.
There were. Well, it's not just regularly. You got to realize that I was sentencing murderers and child abusers. Those sentences, and if anybody, I used to every defendant who was sentenced. So much about the law people don't know.
They don't.
Every defendant who was sentenced, meaning they've been convicted either by pleading guilty or by trial. They have two rights. They have an absolute right to make a statement at sentence. That's their right. And that's really the only
And that's always been there?
Well, that's as long as I know.
Because it seemed to become more popular.
About midway,
decade or so.
midway when I was DA, that changed. So they have a right to make a statement at sentence. They have no right to make any statements if they're represented by counsel except to testify.
Right, and they don't. Normally
most of them do not want
no.
to. But so this is their time to make their statement, no matter what it is. They also have a constitutional right not to say anything.
Right, because it may incriminate.
Now, I am not allowed to ask defendants questions.
You ask their attorney?
Yes. I cannot speak to the defendant directly at all throughout the entire proceeding. However, if indeed they choose to make a statement, I get to question them. And what? Boy, a personal visit.
Hey.
Elliot Auerbach with a personal visit. Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our guest here. I didn't realize I was enjoying
you guys were really,
Guy's conversation so much.
I was enamored, with the conversations that were going on here.
He is so entertaining.
Well, I joined you guys about, thinking about Accord. I rode with you in from Accord.
That's about quite some time.
I've learned about the court. I've heard the O.J. Simpson trial discussion. I'm feeling
Did
like...
you get to hear his story? I won't ask you to repeat it.
Did you... Well, did you hear how Don had his wife thrown out of court?
I did hear that.
It was not one of my higher...
Wondered why she didn't come see him more often in court?
Her being asked to leave, which really was, she got the bum's rush. She really did. Not by me. That wasn't so bad.
What did she do that made them do that?
She was... Remember, I tried to set the tone that no BS happening in this courtroom. You hear anybody get out of line, toss them.
Decorum. You kept decorum.
She was trying to signal you she had your lunch or something?
So there was only one seat left. They wanted her to sit. I had told her, make sure you get my attention. So she wasn't sitting.
She did get your attention.
Yeah, oh, she did. So for that reason, they tossed her.
You know, some wives may have believed that was a setup by what you discussed.
She may have. She may have. That may have entered her thought process at some point. Anyway, Elliot.
Well, it's good to
not seen you.
I know. It's good to be with you guys. It's good to be out and about.
Yes.
So the guests should know we're asked to do this on a regular basis, Elliot. We have Elliot. We're very lucky, especially to you come in person.
Oh, really?
We have Elliot Auerbach, who is a deputy comptroller. What exactly is
state of New York
the title now?
So I'm deputy comptroller. My responsibilities are local government and school accountability. So I oversee
for the entire state or the
entire
See,
state.
when you got a promotion, I remember reading the article. Initially, it was just 7 regions. So
this expanded to the 950 towns, the 535 villages, all of the cities. About the day I walked through the door,
which was how close to the pandemic began.
I left Ulster County in May of 2019. I was just in the second year of my 4th term as county controller, and left to go with Controller DiNapoli, and the world has not been the same since on a number of different fronts. But I also am responsible for all the justice courts, overseeing the.
That's correct.
So
that's financial aspect.
That's really interesting. Libraries, fire districts, special districts. It's really exciting.
And these entities have to file reports annually with.
So there's a filing requirement for many of them, and then of course our ability to audit all of them. To go out and provide financial oversight throughout the state. So basically the way the controller has it constructed is that we have 6 regional offices, Buffalo, Newburgh, Syracuse, Rochester, Hauppauge, Long Island, and we have a team of field auditors out of each office who have a responsibility for a number of counties, and then it is up to us to create an audit plan to make a decision basically a year in advance as to what kind of work we're going to conduct, but also leave some wiggle room because things pop up, as you can appreciate, on occasion, so that we have to be able to bob and weave. And then, of course, the monkey wrench in the conveyor belt this past year has been COVID. And
a global pandemic.
Dealing with municipalities and governments.
How did you folks handle that? I read somewhere how much staff.
Yeah, so we have there's 1,200 people that work with us in Albany out of 110 State Street, and then I have 300 folks who work throughout the field, and it was a delicate balance. Of course, not just the concerns and the safety of our folks, but also the challenges on a municipality and by municipality basis. Some municipalities literally closed their door. I mean, they literally locked the door when March of 2020 came and didn't reopen for months on end. So that created a problem.
Tax revenue had to change.
There was a whole imbalance. Let's put it that way. And of course, there was a number of executive orders coming out of the second floor by the governor that allowed certain lateral moves by local governments and school districts. But it's we're just starting to see the rebound. We were very fortunate from a staff point of view that most of our folks remained healthy. We did lose one of our folks to COVID early on, so that was a tough take. Sure. All of the folks that work with me are working remotely with an occasional return back to the office as needed. I've been traveling the state both virtually and physically. I was up in Buffalo last week. The controller and I did our first public event last week. I called it our COVID coming out party. I mean, we literally were in a room.
You weren't there with Chris Cuomo.
No. He was downstairs in his house somewhere. But we were literally in a room with 60 elected officials from Erie County, and that was really the first time getting out there and getting among people. But things are things are starting to open up. Some of the associations that we deal with, for example, the New York State Conference of Mayors is having an actual in-person event in June, so that's nice to see.
Yeah.
Some of the
It
others
simply is not the same doing a
Oh,
Zoom
no,
call as
no.
it is meeting people in person.
It's like you, Don, and I'm sure you could appreciate it, is you like to be around people. You enjoy that person to person type of interaction, and that's been tough on the folks that work with me. But look, technology has really played a very important role between Zoom and Microsoft Teams and everything else. We're able to get
I
things
think
done.
there's a lot of industries that it wasn't even on the drawing board, working remotely, that found a way to make it work.
Correct.
And many of them will probably continue doing it to some degree for quite some time. Now, I know that there's a lot of different industries and companies now that are in the stages of planning to have everyone come back. And I read somewhere there's a whole thing, but just there's a real resistance to coming back, and not necessarily for the reasons that they don't believe in the vaccine. They just are very comfortable working from home, and they've been able to do the job.
Look at the strain that this has put on, and this is something that we were very concerned about, the mental health of the folks that work with us. Here you are, you're a 30-something who has a career, and all of a sudden your kids are home now, virtually learning, you're home now, maybe your spouse is home now. So there's a balance that really has become something of a trick that folks have had to deal with. So now, all of a sudden, we're shifting gears back again. I think you're going to see, as you alluded to, more of a hybrid approach, part-time in office, part-time working from home.
And if done appropriately, that could also be efficient, if done appropriately. As Guy's saying, there are some people that have become entitled feeling of being home.
Correct.
Yeah, I know you can't say those things.
No, I hear what you're
saying.
right.
And we all see it. The poor people that run the restaurant businesses.
Oh my gosh,
trying to get individuals to come back, especially for the low pay that they receive.
It's devastating.
It's that's in my wheelhouse. That's a tips business. It's the staff or the pay is it's traditionally not good. It's a tips business, and if nobody's going out,
the tips
that and the entertainment business. I had no idea personally. I had no idea. I've spent my entire life as a musician. I had no idea how much, no matter how much I play, and nobody stopped me from playing. I just can't play in public. I had no idea how important it was for me to have people watch me do what I do. It's an odd situation.
It's really changed industries, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a number of restaurants who are not going to be able to return back to what they were prior to the pandemic.
Some have been quite successful.
Absolutely, Don. See, that's interesting.
They've
changed,
pivoted.
And they pivoted quickly. And I it's funny you say that. I was at one of the places that we were up in Buffalo was an Italian restaurant, and I sat in the parking lot for a few minutes before I walked in. And they literally built a second building that adjoins the restaurant's kitchen for pickup purposes only. So people don't have to walk through the restaurant. They put their order in. The parking lot's still there. They assembled this building pretty quickly. I'm seeing a lot of restaurants who are utilizing technology again. Place your order online or place your order on Facebook. Come and pick up, and so they have, and some of them have gone into secondary and tertiary businesses like grocery supplies out of their restaurants.
I imagine I see Uptown Kingston, especially with the outside dining, which is very popular. Of course, that depends upon the weather.
Correct.
And then the people in New York City, they don't have the access to create outside dining, so that's unfortunate.
We're lucky in that respect. Again, the business model for some businesses have changed dramatically. I spoke to one of the local hardware store owners who told me that when the pandemic hit, his business increased exponentially because people were spending more time at home, were involved in more projects, So, we don't know what the impact
Have you seen
is.
the price of lumber lately? Yeah.
Somebody just did a comparison, I think it was in the Times or something, where they took a deck, lumber for a deck that could have been built in 2000 and then priced it in today's terms, and it looks like it's gone up 3 times or 4 times.
At least 3 to 4 times more, which
amazing.
is it really is amazing. Now, the tough questions.
Ooh.
I know why you left. We all proceed in that type of life, but the politics in Albany are simply offensive and distasteful. Politics anywhere is distasteful, but in Albany, the level. A friend of mine, Paul Klein, who was the former district attorney in Albany County, his dad was John Klein, Albany County Court judge. When I started, he would come here to Ulster County occasionally to try cases. His nickname was Maximum John Klein. He was one tough.
Maximum
but
John
he was
Klein.
tough on everyone. I was a young assistant. But I think his son, Paul Klein, was quoted once in the Albany Times-Union of saying when he was investigating some legislators that were acting inappropriately with their staff, he said, I would never allow my daughter to be an intern for the assembly. And, of course, the next term he ran for DA in Albany, he didn't get the Democratic nomination. But the politics at Albany, and I only saw it at a small level when I was DA, I can't imagine what it's like to have such a significant position at the comptroller's office. And I know you cannot say a great deal, but it's now in light of what's going on with the governor, what is life like in Albany?
Well, you've certainly touched on a sensitive subject.
I do. Listen, like you, Elliot, I was unaware this was going to be a hard-headed investigative journalist.
As you know, the comptroller, who is independent of the executive's office, an independently elected official, has come out in a letter and called for the governor's resignation. So you know where the comptroller is at. He's a highly principled man to begin with. The climate is interesting. I think that Albany, much like the rest of the country, has been put on pause. The city's very quiet right now. The legislature is in, but not to the activity level that it has been in the past. I think we are witnessing what will be a paradigm shift in government, where what we know as government and the way people behave or behaved will dramatically change in the future, in the present and in the future, with people running for office who are very concerned about not just what goes on in the chambers, but what goes on outside the chambers as well. We're seeing a lot of new young faces in Albany, both in the Assembly and in the Senate, and people who are bringing a value to that office that maybe was questionable to begin with. So it's interesting. And, it's not just Albany-centric. I mean, you're seeing it all across the state. So it's going to be a wait-and-see attitude. Look, we just saw what happened in the mayoral primary race with Scott Stringer, who was the former New York City comptroller, and somebody stepping forward and making accusations. And again, you know better than anybody sitting in this room, we need all the facts. We
do, and unfortunately, as a public, we are quick to judge.
True.
And we judge on a regular basis on what's in the media.
Unfortunately.
I read the articles about Judge Rounds releasing a murderer, blaming the DA's office, which may or may not be an accurate representation. And immediately everyone's making judgments about D.A. Clegg and about Judge Rounds. And I know I was quick to make a judgment. I would love to say what my judgment was. I will not, just because I respect both people.
And the facts, and you need the facts.
That's right. But I was also about to say, well, there's enough there for me to make a judgment only because what I've done before, but for the general public to make that decision, I know there are many facts that are not in that article. Yeah. So do not rush to judgment.
And we're seeing that, statewide too, with elected officials. Don't rush to judgment. I think it was a Mark Twain quote. It said, "The information is only as good as the source it comes from."
Yeah.
And really, we grew up though, unfortunately, believing that it was the gospel when you picked up the newspaper and read it in black and white.
Walter Cronkite said it.
Right, exactly. But there was a respect at the time and an appreciation and an understanding of how the news was presented. But today, social media has certainly created some incendiary issues when people can just step forward and make a claim, whether it's founded or unfounded. So those are look, I fancy myself to be a professional skeptic. I like to look at the things, sit down, try and understand them, measure them as best we can, and give the benefit of the doubt until the facts come out. And we see that in the audit world. I mean, that's exactly how the folks who work with me operate. It's strictly informational and fact-based, but it's getting to those facts that are different.
The powers that the comptroller has does not include a prosecution. If you do find what you believe to be criminality, you then refer it.
Partner with the district attorney on the local. As a matter of fact, I think today we have an announcement, and it's been unfortunate over the course of the last 6 or 7 months, the number of arrests of public officials who, for one thing or another. So we partner with the county district attorney's office, or in some cases the state attorney general, or in some cases both, depending upon what it is and what we're doing. And you recall back, it's interesting. The genesis of our oversight of school districts goes back to Roslyn, New York, I think there's a Netflix movie out about it now too, that there was an embezzlement between the superintendent and the business manager, and there was not just tens of thousands of dollars but millions of dollars embezzled. And so statutorily we were provided then the ability to oversee school districts, which we do. I think there's 700 or 720 school districts in the state. So
each one is such a separate.
It is, and it's interesting to see as you travel the state. We're so. I think Ulster County is much more New York centric. We are influenced there. But when you move into Western New York or Central New York, it's a different world.
Well, Ulster County, especially, as Guy knows, also. We are definitely New York City centric now.
And now becoming more and more. Right. I mean, it's funny you say that. I was on a Zoom call last night with a couple. He's from Australia and she's from Russia. They came to Ulster County via Brooklyn, and they are making quite a substantial investment into property in the county, commercial property in the county. And they were talking to some local officials in it, and they just rolled off 6 or 7 or 8 different investors who have come in from New York City who have planted their flag here because A, they fell in love with the area. As we know, it's easy to do.
Sure.
And B, the dollar goes pretty much further. Even though we're seeing prices tick up dramatically, the dollar goes much further here.
And I think influencing that whole wave is, again, due to the pandemic.
Agreed.
The discovery that
and
so
technology.
many things can be done anywhere.
And technology, right? That you can literally. I have a son who works in Manhattan, but he's been living in New Paltz for the last year and working out of there.
And as a company, what's the difference in price per square foot in Fifth Avenue and Town Hall?
So if you're a commercial real estate owner in Manhattan, your knees are knocking right now. You're worried about how you're again. But as we talked about the pivot, they will. I'm sure they'll pivot too. Whether they pivot into housing or whether they pivot into some other area, we'll see.
We should remind our listening audience that we have, I'm Donald Williams, Guy Greco.
And Elliot Auerbach.
And Elliot Auerbach, who's the Deputy Controller for New York State, which really is an awesome responsibility. I don't mean awesome as some valley guy would say, but awesome responsibility.
I can tell you it's been fun. It's, I'm closing in on year 2. It's been a lot of fun. The comptroller is, again, a highly respected man throughout the state, a wonderful guy to work with, somebody who really truly understands the needs of people and is not afraid to get out there, whether it's 10 people or 10,000 people. The comptroller is there. And then, of course, Don, you could appreciate this more than anybody. He manages the retirement fund. And
doing an excellent job.
And you know how that's impacted tens of thousands of people who are either local government retirees, teachers who retire, state officials who retire. So he manages that as well. And one of our favorite areas, though, that we love, and I'll give it a plug for people to do, is unclaimed funds. We're sitting with millions and millions and millions of dollars of monies that belong to other people that end up in the comptroller's office because either they didn't cash a check or they didn't take their refund back. So I'm encouraging anybody that's listening today to go online and Google unclaimed funds under the New York State Comptroller's office and see if your name's there. And Don, you should do it too. You could be the person who there's like $1 million in somebody's name there. It could be you.
That's not going to be happening, Elliot. But thank you again. Thank you, Elliot Auerbach, for being here.
I thank you for putting up with me, Don.
Great to have
you. Good to see you.
Since radio days.
And I would like to say, if in the amount of time you've been doing this job, with all the weight associated with it and the global pandemic, for you to describe it as fun, I think it's going to get nothing better from here on.
Well, thank
nothing
you,
but
thank
better.
You, thank you. I will see you guys. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you. Okay. To Tony Marmo that the job has the shoes as big as they are have been filled.
Well, that's high praise.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer: the drug facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the drug facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/drug facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting against childhood cancer every day. At the heart of this battle are our donors.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here. And it doesn't matter your religion or what part of the world you're from, all that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Find out how you can help at stjude.org.
Central Hudson reminds you, when it comes to your home's wiring, safety matters. Overheated electric cords or outlets are signs of inadequate wiring, within your wall, in an appliance, or both. Circuit breakers or fuses that trip often is usually a sign that a circuit is overloaded, an appliance is faulty, or something is wrong that can shock a person or cause a fire. Have a trained electrician troubleshoot such problems immediately.
Hi, this is Tony Marmo from Norman Staffing, and we've been bringing together employers and job seekers since 1980. If you're an employer and have job vacancies, let Norman Staffing help fill them with permanent or temporary workers. We screen, interview, and recommend the best candidates for your company. We make the employment process easier and faster for you. Please call Norman Staffing for your employment needs at 338-9111, 338-9111, or normanstaffing.com.
Hi, this is Winnie from the Rosendale Seniors, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
Rondout Savings Bank has a long history of serving local communities and maintaining a strong tradition of customer service excellence while providing each customer with the personal attention they deserve. Rondout Savings' approach to community banking puts you and the growth of your business in the front of everything they do. They're a different kind of bank and would like to tell you why, so please reach out to one of their expert business bankers for an appointment and let them show you what they can do for you. Rondout Savings Bank, always working for you and the community with branches in Kingston, West Hurley, and Hyde Park. Also online at rondoutbank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
You know, he just raised his hand. It's Thunder Thursday.
It's the sign.
This is Guy Greco with Don Williams.
And Bill Calderon.
Bill, that's right. And we
Bill is,
welcome
as
you
everyone
here.
knows, the president of Ulster Savings Bank, and we're lucky to have him.
Very
happy to be here.
And it's nice to take the time out to come and see us, Bill, because I'm sure you are busy.
And disappointed that Tony Marmo wasn't here.
No, please don't say. Elliot said that, and that's one of the reasons I asked him the tough question.
I am not
That's
disappointed.
right,
I see Tony a lot.
Tony, you know something? I've gotten to know Tony better as a result of my once-a-month co-hosting with him. He's a special person.
He is. And when I was...
What a big heart.
I was co-hosting more than once a month with him. I was doing it more frequently, but he was working my last nerve. So I moved to once a month so that we could get along on the air.
Before we get into the details of exactly what he touched upon, we're going to explore this, even if I have to cross-examine it out of you. But it's that special, always a prosecutor. It's that special time of Thursdays, and maybe other days too, that we get to acknowledge the people that have their birthdays today. So without further ado, Guy, you've got the first
on
person.
May 6th today, we want to wish a happy birthday to Karen Reich. And this is from your friends at the Town of Ulster Senior Club. Although, without even knowing you, I can say that it's unbelievable that seniors would wish you a happy birthday. I'm sure that you're not a member of that club. If I saw you, I wouldn't think so.
What office are you running for? Bill?
Well, also today, a very happy birthday to Paula Strang from her friends and family, and it's her children, Kathleen, Scott, Christopher, Laura, Bethany, Dave, Susan, Stephen, and Cheryl, and her grandkids, Brock II, Alex, and Haley. So
God bless you, Paula. What do you do with your spare time?
Well, you should really relax on your birthday.
Anyway, the one of these two birthday people will get that special prize of Voice Dairy Milk House, which is their cow pie. Which,
that's right.
Guy has told us off air that he hasn't had it yet, but Bill, you and I have.
I have had it, and it's wonderful.
It is special. It is. So I will not, much like Tony, ring.
But this is a tradition. It doesn't make you Quasimodo just to ring the bell once.
This is the bell?
There's the bell.
That's the bell. That's
and
right.
The winner is Paula Strang.
Congratulations, Paula.
Congratulations, Paula.
You know, if I
stop by Boyce's Dairy and get your cow pie.
If I had this bell when I was on the bench, I would never.
You wouldn't be on the bench very long. Can you imagine?
I'm
just
sure
before
the
the
Stern Commission
sentencing,
would
and you win.
You get this special prize of
all
life
expenses
without any
paid,
chance of
vacation, and
parole.
arsoning for the rest of your life.
So, Bill, tell us what's happening with. Parenthetically, you may or may not be aware of this. I have been a customer of Ulster Savings, I think, for virtually my entire life.
Ooh.
And I'm going to put a plug in for the people that are on Wall Street, the Wall Street branch.
Yes.
They are some of the nicest, young people that whenever I went, I could walk off the bench after presiding over some of the most horrible cases, and the people at that branch always put a smile on my face. I wish I could remember all of their names, but please, Bill, because it'll make them feel very special. Let them know how much I appreciated how they made my days easier, and I would stop doing any online backing because I just loved going into that branch, because even on the darkest days, they really could put a smile on my face. So you should know, when you have people like that working for you, it serves the bank wonderfully. And they're great, great people. Please tell them I said that.
I will. No, we have tremendous staff, and I can't thank them enough for
I don't know how you do
they've done.
How you do your hiring and your training, but they're special people. They really are. So now, what's going on with Ulster Savings?
Well, we had a lot going on. We turned 170 years old this year. So in April 12th was our official date.
Say I've been dealing with you as a client. It hasn't been for
It hasn't been for that year.
And you should get a cow pie for that,
But we decided to do some things differently this year with it. We've always, as you know, been very philanthropic. We've always given out to the community. Last year, during the pandemic, we gave out over $600,000 to local charities, and most of those were proactive gifts because we knew they would need it to keep going.
That's $600,000.
Yeah. So it's a big part of
the community.
The
You say Ulster County, or
Ulster, Orange, Dutchess. We anywhere where we have offices and locations, we serve all of those areas. And the first day of the lockdown, when the governor announced it, I walked down to our CFO, and I had him give me $50,000 worth of checks, and I walked out and visited all the local food pantries and started to hand out checks because I knew they would have an immediate need.
That is what is special about a local business. It was very, very local. It was just out of Kingston initially.
Yes.
But that's one of the special things about local business. They really care.
We do.
You know that guy.
I do.
And we're blessed to have some great organizations within our community, and not all of the communities, as people know, have the number of local financial institutions that we do have, and that they're all so generous.
That's great.
And they employ local people. They give back to the community.
And that's it.
The money stays in the community. There's a lot of reasons to.
We all live here. We all work here. That's part of So we are part of the community. It's not a decision that's being made somewhere across the nation or even out of the country with some of the institutions have pieces. But so anyway, what we decided to do for our 170th anniversary, because just giving out additional amounts of money didn't make a lot of sense. Many organizations will do it based on their anniversary year. Like about $170,000. For us, we'd be giving out less. So we chose to try something different that maybe will catch on and move on. So we chose to do 170 acts of kindness throughout the year. And just random acts of kindness, just different things.
How do you designate what specific act of kindness?
So we came up with a bunch of things. Didn't talk about a few of them, but we went into one of our customer Marino's barbershop in Poughkeepsie, and we told them we were going to pay for all the haircuts, for an afternoon. So people that showed up had their haircuts paid for. We went to Treasure's Garage up in Red Hook, and we paid for all the oil changes that they were doing.
But you actually make an appearance also.
We do. We have somebody on site, and they hand them out, and we have little cards that they give out that just says, on behalf of our 170th anniversary, here's an act of kindness.
Imagine being in a barber's chair, which is an infrequent visit for me, obviously.
Mm-hmm. I certainly was.
Can you imagine being in a barber's chair and have somebody come in and say everybody's haircut that's great.
Yeah. So
just haircuts today.
Yeah.
That may eat up the entire $600,000.
Well, especially if they've been waiting during this whole COVID routine. That's a lot of hair to cut.
Yep. So it's just things like that. We have many of us, and I'm here. We carry, just little gift cards with us with little notes.
Do you have like a committee of people?
Yeah,
that
we have a committee that we put together at the bank that came up with just different ideas. So it could be. We're in the grocery store and we see someone that's online and maybe, struggling a little bit to put an item back or something because of the piece, and we just hand them a gift card and say thank you very much and pay for the groceries or things like that.
People that have known my past would be shocked, but I've done that occasionally.
Yeah.
It's when you see people that are really struggling just to pay for food, boy, that's hard. And
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, and it's more frequent than any of us would like to believe.
Yeah, I think especially under these circumstances it is. But that's what a nice touch.
Yeah. So our employees are loving it because they're involved with it. So they have, said this have cards. They could just hand them out or come up with the ideas with the committee.
They become Santa Claus for a day.
So and it makes them feel so good. It makes us feel so good. And what we're hoping is that it gets passed on, right? That by starting it and really, kind of formalizing it. We all do it, but formalizing a little bit, really getting going. That maybe the person who went in and had their barber had their haircut for free, who could afford the haircut, went out and said, you know what, I'm going to do something good with the money that I was going to have the haircut or something with them. So that's really the idea for it, right? We could all use a little bit more kindness, especially coming out of this pandemic.
Sure.
Make somebody's day, brighten it, and that was the idea that we did.
It just returns to that theme of local businesses.
That's right. That's right. And, it's no small thing what Bill said about all the lending decisions and policies being made here, being made locally. It's a big thing. I mean, I like to say, if it's raining on you, we're getting wet too. We're all here together. And I don't know, things like the pandemic drive that home as much as that. It's very funny what brings people together. It's not always tragedy, but I remember 9/11, how, at least for a while, there was this feeling of being very unified, and everybody felt like we were in things together. And again, with the pandemic, I think it's been that way. I think we found out because there's no socioeconomic boundaries to it. It could affect anyone. I think it drove it home even more again.
Well, I hope so. I certainly saw a different response back with September 11th than I'm seeing in our society today. But hopefully some good will come out of this. Regardless, back on a brighter light, the influx of people from Brooklyn specifically, but New York City, how is that at all impacting Ulster Savings Bank or other similar institutions? Are these people that are buying up all this property, are they getting mortgages?
Yes. Well, not all, but many are getting mortgages. Our mortgage area has been going like gangbusters for really since early 2020.
So there is some benefit
There is some benefit.
Escalating prices on homes. There's a benefit.
No, they've been going 24/7 processing, with the piece. We actually, during the height of pandemic last year, when it was, we were trying to keep people socially distanced and not have them come into the lobbies unless we needed to. We never closed them, but we did it by appointment. But having a large group, as you know, to come in for a closing wasn't necessarily easy to do. So we set up actually the equivalent of a circus tent out in our parking lot, and we did drive-through loan closings. So they literally could stay in their car. We had two picnic tables that each, the attorneys could sit at. The customer would drive in. They would walk up with the paperwork. They would sign, roll down their window, sign, notarize it, hand it back, and they would drive through, and the next car would drive in. So I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime, but we did do drive-through loan closings.
Drive-throughs. Can you pick up like a Whopper at the same time?
You want fries with that? Yeah, we were kind of the concept. But the customers loved it. They really did because they felt way more, very comfortable and safe doing it. So did our staff because they were outside now.
Paper than I didn't do. I think I did one closing my entire life because it was all criminal law, but the paper was flying all over.
Sure.
Yeah.
How do you handle that at a drive-through?
So we've streamlined it quite a bit. We can actually do a completely paperless closing. The only problem is the state wants a live signature on the final document, so we have to record them. So we can't. We could even do an electronic signature, but they won't take it. So that was the only piece. That's why we had the 10, because everything up to that point we could do virtually. But we needed someone to come in to sign.
For somebody that's going through that process, how long is it from the time of application that the actual mortgage closes? Roughly,
it varies. We've been actually running 60 days or less on average.
That's great.
That would include purchases and refis. So obviously, the purchase is more driven by the buyer and seller timing of moving out, and other events that might have that as well, not just the mortgage or the closing documents.
What are the rates looking like? With
They're
could
very
change
low. Yeah.
soon. They're extremely low.
You have mortgage rates in the 2s and 3s.
For what, 15?
No, out to 30
For
years.
30.
2s and 3s?
Yeah, depending on the option and the.
You know, I was
type of
so
loan.
excited after 40 years of finally paying my mortgage off. What a shame. But
It's all equity now.
yeah. No, that equity is going to go to my kids and not back in my pocket in Hawaii. So I don't think I'll be refinancing. However, if I sold this, how difficult? And you must be facing people like this, born and raised in this community, love this community, but now I have this house that I bought years ago for like $180,000, which was every penny I had.
Scraped up together, absolutely.
And it took me forever to pay it off. Assistant DAs back in those days got paid nothing, so it took forever. But that house now, people are telling me is worth an outrageous amount of money.
Yes.
The problem is then selling it. Where do you
go? That's the issue.
That's making that tough, along with the fact of facing capital gains, which would be significant. However, if I'm going to sell it, I better sell it soon before the capital gains are changed tremendously. Anyway, are you seeing people like that?
No, we are seeing that. You're seeing it all over. So, and it's creating different issues as well, as we know within our area of affordability for for local residents to get in, and we have to. Those are discussions that we have to have.
Yeah, and they're hard discussions.
They're hard discussions.
They are indeed.
I mean, I have a close friend that has a lease that's expiring in September. She has been at this apartment, doesn't make a whole lot of money for a long period of time. It's a duplex. Because of the increase in value, the landlord is selling it. It's been sold to people coming up from the city that have now decided they want to convert it to a single family. So she's out.
Now, more a question I asked Elliot when he was here. Is there still a moratorium on evicting people?
I think
it was extended.
So even if
that apply on
it does indeed.
lease?
Yeah, it sure does.
It was extended.
And just recently, right?
Just recently. They
Still, I think that you don't want to stay where you're not wanted.
Yeah.
Well, if you have nowhere to go, though, not wanted or not, you'll stay. Now, there's precedence for this kind of thing. It's happened a lot, just not here. I mean, they call it gentrification in some places. But I don't think the precedent that's set has ever really ended up great for the people that were living there.
And no one wants to go through that type of litigation, which is brutal.
No.
In fact,
coming
coming from a lawyer, you'll be shocked to hear this, Bill. A guy might also. We live in an overly litigious society.
Yeah, no one's shocked to hear that.
Wow. I mean, I remember growing up, if somebody knocked me out
you'd avoid them.
Fight, first you would make sure you don't give a hard time to somebody that was capable of knocking you out. That's
Right, and then you don't run home to your parents and have them call their lawyer.
Not to my dad, who was a frogman in World War II.
Right.
No, you don't. But it's an indifferent environment. And do you see, and I know you're in a position, you really cannot comment on it, but do you see a different personality, a different type of individual that's coming through the process now?
The customers that we've had come through have been wonderful, really, and so complimentary of our service and our different pieces. So they've really been great.
People are discovering how great Kingston is.
Right.
And there is a different mindset. I hope that mindset gets assimilated.
You really, these are good questions, but they're tough questions. And there's two sides to that if you think about it. One of them is, I think, part of the good part is this rediscovery of things that we take for granted because we live here from someone that's lived in Brooklyn their whole life or one of the boroughs they come up here. I mean, all of the things that I forget to look at or I forget to appreciate. I was talking to someone on the phone that's moving here from just outside of Wichita, Kansas, on the phone, and they're talking about a mortgage. And she said, I haven't visited there yet. What's it like? I said, well, I spent time in Kansas. I worked there. The first thing you're going to notice is you can't turn your head in any direction and not see a mountain. She said, boy, that sounds glorious. And tornadoes, I said, no, there's none of
ruby
that.
red slippers on?
No, I don't know. I haven't met her. I only spoke to her on the phone.
That's where they went, right?
And
there was a pair that was taken.
I started describing all the wonderful things about our area and realized I forgot how beautiful
we
it is.
do not. I was born and raised Crown Street.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Born and raised. The only time I went to the Senate House in my entire life was on a class trip.
Isn't that something? And there it sits.
It just sits there. And the people that you go and look at the visitors book in the Senate House, it's from people all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
I love watching people stroll uptown. And it's like if I go to Manhattan, I look at the skyscrapers, look at this tourist jerk looking up. These people are looking at the steeple at the old Dutch church and all the gravestones.
It has such charm. The town has such
It really
charm.
does.
It really does.
It really does. I just hope, and I'm beginning to see a huge change, but I just hope that it keeps some of its character, the same character that we had the benefit of growing up with.
If the people come in, appreciate it like it seems they do because of the change and everything, scenery and geography and weather and traffic. And, this is a different world than Brooklyn or, it's just a completely different world. And now that you can work from home and you can raise your children here in this atmosphere where it's not, I don't know.
And I think it's one of the things that's attracting them to the area in addition to the beauty and the different pieces is that, right? It's that hometown feel. It's different.
And the affordability and
comparison.
comparison.
Right? It's affordable, but...
I try to walk as much as I can because I'm getting older and getting no exercise. And I can tell when somebody is a recent transplant.
Really?
They do not want to make eye contact.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a skill.
Because I think that, yes, because apparently that I have a look that I might mug them. I'm not quite sure. They heard my reputation.
Or maybe they know you.
What I do, that's what I'm saying. But what I do now is I go out of my way, and you could see initially they may be uncomfortable, but now I go out of my way to say, good morning, how are you today? How's a nice day? And they look up, and now when I pass some of these same individuals, it almost seems like they just appreciate the greet.
They do. They do.
It
And
takes
yet,
a
if you were in on a street in New York City doing that, most would cross the street to go to the other side
They
because
think you're out of your mind.
Right.
Or you would just take your valuables, one of the.
Right.
So it's incredible, but it is having. Obviously, I had a feeling you would be very busy. I know a lot of the money that comes up is cash, and people are not financing necessarily. But
It's a combination. There's been a number of cash transactions, but and there's a number that are mixed. They'll take a smaller mortgage and partially cash. But we've been going nonstop.
That's great.
The group has really been, they've been fantastic. Really, all the employees. They, if you think about it, we were the front line of the financial crisis. Right? We had a pandemic, and we don't take away what happened from the medical side of that or the first responders. They were on that absolute front line. But to prevent the financial crisis that really could have happened, and while there were a lot of downturn, a lot of people financially struggling, it could have been really bad. This could have made the financial crisis look like nothing if we went through it.
It's surprising, and it's surprising how it's rebounded so quickly.
Yeah.
But and I know that Ulster Savings and many of the other lending institutions have cut some slack as a result initially. With
and there was, and we've discussed this before. There was a real. I can't think of the word. There was a real coming together. It wasn't competitive. As soon as this started, Ulster Savings, I know with Wayne, the CEO of Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit, all came together to say, how can we get through this? What can we do to make sure that we can get the people what they need here? As far as there were, you could speak to that.
Sure. No, we had conversation. We all the CEOs locally, we were talking regularly. We were having conversations. We were offering each other things like, in an institution, but one of them had an issue with one of their branches where they had to close it. And we said, look, if you really need to, we'll give you a teller slot in our location if you want to come over for your customers. That was the type of cooperation that was happening.
Do you think that has happened in many parts of this country?
I think it's happened I think within the local banking communities, so the community banks and local credit unions. I think it's happened.
Well,
I don't know.
heartening.
I don't know if if some of the larger institutions would offer it, but I do think that's happened because we've seen it. We've seen it in other areas when there have been some types of crisis. We saw it in New Orleans, right after Katrina, where entire branches of banks were wiped out. And other institutions opened up space for them, or helped into In fact, there were banks outside of the area that opened up their call centers and took lines from those banks and started to handle their calls because they couldn't get their calls.
See, now that speaks to
so there's always, I think there's a close knit community. Of
well, I was
community
very
bankers
proud to see that here. I really was.
great.
I was proud of.
Well, Bill,
working through
I've it's amazing doing these. I always say, how are we going to fill the time up, and the time flies.
Time just flies.
So we have about 30 seconds left. Is there anything you want to leave us with? And again, this is Bill Calderera, who's the president of Ulster Savings Bank. Anything you want to leave us with?
It's really with, I think, the 170 acts of kindness to really hope that we were hoping within our community that gets passed forward, and that is part of an initiative to change the tide of just what we all see outside in some of our communities, where we all have way more in common than we don't, and we unfortunately focus too much on what we don't have in common than what we do have in common.
True.
And that's what this is hopefully going to do.
All right, Bill, thank you
Thank
again.
you.
I wish that we could keep you longer. That was great. Good seeing you again.
Thank you.
The half hour goes quick.
It was a pleasure to see you.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
There was this one time I went snorkeling in the Caribbean when I was a kid. It really just blew my mind. We saw the most beautiful corals. I remember thinking they were waving at us as they moved with the ocean. And then there were all these amazing fish. I'll never forget it. It completely changed the way I look at the ocean.
Most of us have a memory of being in nature we'll never forget. Let's protect the world's natural places so more memories can be made for generations to come. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
Someone in your town, at your school, or where you work is suffering from Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis. They're dealing with excruciating pain and days when they can't even get out of bed. Chances are someone you know has Crohn's or colitis. Someone like me. I'm Amy Brenneman, and I'm asking you to support the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America to help millions of us cope and to find cures. Visit ccfa.org today to learn more. Help someone you know get back to their lives at ccfa.org.
Hi, this is Jim Quigley, supervisor of the town of Ulster, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Okay, we're back. It's 8:30, our last half-hour segment. Guy Greco, Don Williams on the line. We have Lisa Berger. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Don and Guy. How are you guys this morning?
I've never felt better or had less, Lisa. Thank you for asking.
That's good. Good to know. I'm a little under the weather myself, which is why I'm not in the studio with you guys, and I'm really sorry not to be there, but I will see you next month.
Well, that's great. I hope you feel better.
Well, thank you. I didn't think that you guys wanted me, sniffling into the microphone or anything like that.
Yes, sniveling is not priority one on the radio, it turns out.
That's exactly right. But I'm super excited this morning because we also have on the line Jeff Brout with us from the Walkway over the Hudson. They're having a big event this week, and Jeff is here to talk about all the wonderful things that the Walkway is doing this weekend and what their plans are. Now that kind of everything is lifting and it looks like we're going to have a normal summer. So,
that would be wonderful.
Hey, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, what's going on with Walkway over the Hudson?
Oh, that's a loaded question. How much time you got?
30 minutes.
Well, 28 now, but go for it.
Well, the most important thing that's going on with the Walkway right now is that this weekend, all along the Hudson Valley Rail Trail and onto the west approach to the Walkway in Highland, we're hosting an event called Mayfest. You may have seen signs for it in the community or seen it on Facebook, wherever you might be getting your local community news. This is a farmers and makers market, bringing all these local vendors, right? All the people that make the Hudson Valley so special, the people that are growing food on their farms, are making artisan crafts in their backyard. Maybe they have a food truck, a local restaurant, they're brewing beer. They're all coming to the Walkway and the Hudson Valley Rail Trail this weekend, and they're offering samples and products for sale and fun activities for kids. You can get a picture taken with your favorite princess or superhero, do some sand art, get your face painted. There's a petting zoo.
I always wanted to, Jeff,
really
have a picture.
This weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 12 to 5. We call it Mayfest. You can see all the vendors. You can get your tickets at walkway.org/Mayfest. So
you went through that kind of quickly. Did you say they're giving away free samples of beer?
All of the wine, beer, and spirit samples, and we have about 25 of them from places like Benmarl Winery, Millhouse Brewing Company, which is across the river, Sloop Brewing Company will be there, Doc's Hard Cider will be there.
25 of them. So in theory, you could have 25 drinks as samples. I'd stay away from the Walkway at that point. Of course, I'm kidding. That's terrible.
You have 25 local breweries coming? Jeff?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, it's Donald Williams. How are you? I was outside when you were first introduced. You have 25 local breweries that will be represented?
So not all breweries. Some of them are wineries. Some of them are cideries. Some of them are distilleries. So like Hudson Whiskey will be there with all of their new products.
Is this the first year of this, Jeff, or have you done this before?
So this is the natural spring extension of our Walktoberfest event that people might remember from the fall. We had so much fun doing that last October that we said, well, let's do it in the spring as well, when people are itching to get outside and enjoy a nice spring day in the Hudson Valley.
So the vendors, are they actually on the Walkway? I know there's that little park underneath the Walkway.
Sure.
Is that where they are, or are they actually on the Walkway?
Nope. So the vendors are on what we call the approach to the Walkway. So it's the Hudson Valley Rail Trail along Haviland Road. They're a great partner with us on this event, helping us have enough space to fit everyone in. So big shout out to Peter Belizzi and everyone with the Hudson Valley Rail Trail for being awesome partners. So we're using their parking lot, which is along Haviland Road, as well as a stretch of the Hudson Valley Rail Trail that heads into the west approach to the Walkway. That plaza that you see with the Sojourner Truth statue and the Ulster County the Ulster Welcome Center.
Yeah,
that will be where the children's activities are held. And then the Walkway physically itself will remain open and accessible because, look, while we're having this event, the Walkway's still open. So if you're a runner, a cyclist, you want to bring your family up, you just want to enjoy the views, or you're coming to the area for a little weekend getaway.
Yeah, it's a great spot. There's always something going on. I know they used to have until pandemic. They had outdoor movies free for families as well down under the walkway. So you could enjoy the walkway and then go watch a movie with your family, with vendors there too as well, as I remember, right?
Exactly right. And we're hoping that, as soon as it's safe and possible, that we can start to bring those things back.
Yeah.
We've already resumed our Walkway at Night series, where we keep the bridge open late so you can experience sunset, twilight, darkness, sometimes with a full moon.
What are the hours, Jeff, for the
Currently,
walkway?
The hours are 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Closing time changes based on how much daylight there is.
Yeah.
So earlier in the year it closes earlier. Later in the year it will close later. You can see all of the official closing times at walkway.org. So
I was just about to ask.
Hey, Jeff. This is Lisa. Don't you guys have a locally famous singer from American Idol that's going to be
It's a Guy Greco.
weekend, a nice
I play there every year.
Yeah, Layla Mock, who you may have seen on this season of American Idol, will be there both days at Mayfest. So we hope folks come out and meet her. You can catch a rising star.
Yeah, that's great. I know that I don't know how often. Last few years, I played there with a band. You had outdoor bands along with those movies and all. I just think for a community to get together, bring somewhere nice and clean and safe that's outdoors to bring their family. It's right on the water. It's real, besides, of course, the walkway that goes over the water, the park and where the activities are right on the water. It's just beautiful. It's just a beautiful area and a nice thing for your entire family.
And Jeff,
absolutely.
What are the dates again, Jeff?
This weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So May 8th and 9th from 12 to 5. The event's called Mayfest. You can find out all you need to know about it at walkway.org/Mayfest.
That's great.
Jeff, I did have just one quick question for you, because you said that some of these vendors are going to be set up in the Hudson Valley Rail Trails parking lot. So do you have overflow parking somewhere on the Highland side, on the west side of the way?
Yep, we sure do. So there's parking all along Haviland Road, and then there's that lower lot along Haviland where folks can park as well. Overflow parking happens in two places. The Bridgeview Plaza, right off Route 9W, the Hannaford's parking lot. You can park by Tractor Supply, and we're running a shuttle on a continuous loop from that spot to the event. It's about maybe a 3-minute ride. And then we also have a shuttle available for anyone taking the train to the event. If you get on Metro North to the Poughkeepsie train station, we have a shuttle from the Poughkeepsie train station as well.
Very nice.
Great.
How many people do you anticipate, Jeff, for this event?
Well, that's a great question. And
he's known for that.
And it's dependent on the weather. On a beautiful spring day, and we're hopeful that we're going to have 2 beautiful spring days. Usually 7,000 to 10,000 people are visiting the walkway each day. So we think that if Mother Nature cooperates, there could be 14 or so thousand people passing through the event this weekend.
That's incredible. What on days where you do not have special events, what type of attendance do you normally get, Jeff?
Oh, I mean, on a nice weekend, it's about that. The walkway averages over the last 5 years 600,000 visitors a year.
Wow, that is absolutely.
So you put that in context. That's more people than attend a Knicks game at Madison Square Garden at full capacity if they sell out every game in a year.
That's incredible.
It's a tremendously popular attraction, and we're happy to say that last year during the COVID year, 559,000 people came to the walkway, which is notable because typically we're a state park that is also a tourist destination. So a lot of our attendance is coming from people that are outside of Dutchess and Ulster County where the walkway sits. Last year, though, tourism wasn't happening. People weren't traveling. We didn't want them moving about the country and going to different places. So the fact that we still had 559,000 people come to the bridge really shows just how much the local community was using and embracing the park as a place to get outside and exercise and
this is
bit from quarantine. So we're tremendously happy.
The walkway itself is just It's a wonderful example of people that have a vision and see through on it. I'm an old Maris guy, and I remember when it was just an old trestle. It was kind of an eyesore, but it became iconic because it was there so long. But in all the years it was there, nobody thought to actually do something with it. Never mind something on this grand scale. 600,000 people for, because somebody had the vision and followed through on it. It's really amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the best stories of a public-private partnership, a grassroots community organization working with local government. It's one of the best stories of adaptive reuse in the nation. And it's becoming a model. We're cited all the time from towns across America as an example of what can happen when you get creative and you think about, what are alternatives to just tearing something down, which was, for a while, the most popular idea.
Sure.
For what to do with the bridge.
Sure, and then there's the normal amount of naysayers anytime you have any idea that's out of the norm.
Exactly.
Never mind the paperwork.
It's a great story that starts with a man named Bill Seppi, who for many years lived underneath the walkway. And
is that right?
The man.
What was his name again, Jeff? Bill Tepe?
Seppi, S-E-P-E. Bill Seppi is the man who first had the idea to turn the old railroad bridge.
And he lived underneath it like Billy Goat's Gruff?
Yeah, would you say that, Jeff? It almost sounds like he carried a little sack on his back.
Tale, but he had a house.
Okay.
That's better. I'll bet he got that house.
That would have made one hell of a story, though, Jeff. Can we go back to we're in the age that you can manipulate the facts a little bit. Can we say that he just camped out under the bridge?
Had a very long way.
And later in life bought a house. Saved all of his money and then bought the house later. But that still is amazing. So what?
Weaving a narrative here.
Yeah. What is the entity that put this? I've been on it. I think during your grand opening, it was just gorgeous. What a wonderful walk. And for people that born and raised in this area didn't realize how beautiful it was.
That's right.
The entity, what exactly is it? Is it a not-for-profit? You say it's a partnership of?
Sure. So it's three organizations together that make up Walkway Over the Hudson. We're a New York State park. Walkway Over the Hudson is part of the New York State park system, along with Niagara Falls and Plattsburgh and all Jones Beach and all those great parks across the state. James Baird. So our park staff is responsible for making sure that our destination is beautiful and shining every day. So they're doing the landscaping, the maintenance, the safety and security, all of the upkeep to make sure that when folks come to the walkway, they're at a beautiful destination that is worthy of the views that it provides. Unlike almost every other park in the world, we're a bridge. So the New York State Bridge Authority is part of our partnership.
Oh, no kidding.
They're of course charged with making sure that we remain 212 feet above the Hudson River. And so far, so good. They are undefeated.
And not less.
132 for 132 years.
And counting.
And we hope so. I haven't seen it yet today, but I haven't gotten any phone calls, so I think that's a good sign. And then the third entity, the third leg of the stool, is a nonprofit organization. That is the group that I work for, called the Friends of the Walkway, who are responsible for the stewardship of this bridge and the programming that goes on the bridge and making sure that we're a vital member of the community and having events like Mayfest and running the volunteer program. So you see those ambassadors that are out in the park in their red vests, making sure that they're there and trained to answer questions about where can I go to get a meal or how far am I from uptown Kingston. I really want to check out, what's going on up there.
And the legend of Mr. Seppi.
Come from our organization. So it's the three of us working in partnership with this awesome entity called the Walkway Over the Hudson, and we're making it work.
What kind of annual budget do you have to operate under, Bill? And I'm sorry, Jeff. And I'm sure it gets complicated because you have the state entities also. But do you have to actually operate under a budget?
So everybody's little piece of it comes out of their own budgets, and I cannot speak to the New York State Parks budget and their slice but I know from the Friends of the Walkway perspective, every year we need to fundraise $1 million,
wow,
give or take, to keep the walkway operating and all the activities that people like. Like you mentioned, those movies under the walkway with the live music.
Yeah.
And, well, there's no charge to attend things like that.
I was about to ask, is there any fee for people to utilize the walkway itself?
Absolutely not. Not during regular operating hours. The only time that there's ever a fee is if there's a special event that's occurring outside of regular operating hours. So, we host a number of fundraising events during the year. Mayfest is one of them, but even this fundraising event, the vast majority of it is complimentary to attend. The only place that you need a ticket is to get into that beer, wine, and spirits sampling area, and that's a $25 ticket.
And the events are. I can attest that the events are well attended. I played there in a band. Well, not last year, year before that. I'm not sure about the year before that. Big 7-piece band, and you'd get the Running Red Foxes over there. The girls' track team would come because they could hear the band from Marist. Of course, it carries over the water, and people there with little kids running around, and they would have all kinds of vendors and booths and things to do. It was really fun. It was a fun thing. I really enjoy. As a musician, I play a lot of gin mills and clubs and ski lodges. But to do a family thing, it was very, I don't know, I loved it. I think it's a wonderful concept, followed through and on. I think it's handled very well, where everybody feels safe and comfortable, and what a wonderful thing to do on a nice evening, a nice warm evening.
And you do, go ahead, Jeff, I'm sorry.
We work very hard to make sure that, we're a great destination for the community, a great family-friendly destination for the community, and to try to put on these special events. So, we're getting back to doing more of them. Last year, obviously, we had to pull back quite a bit because of the pandemic. But as restrictions are eased, and because of the fact that we have miles of outdoor space, we think we'll be able to bring back a lot of everyone's favorite events this year in some way. And so just keep an eye on our website, walkway.org. There's an event calendar there for all that's going on in the community, and we're really proud that most of the things that we do are free or very low cost. So we pride ourselves on being accessible and affordable, and like you mentioned, you're going to get a great event at the same time.
Well, that's a pride well earned. Good job.
All right, so the listening audience understands, again, we're here with Lisa Berger, who's the Ulster County Tourism Director, and Jeff Brault, who's from Walkway in the Hudson. And I imagine, Jeff, if the people cannot remember the specific site, all they would have to do is Google Walkway on the Hudson, and everything would be available.
Absolutely. That is the easiest way to find all the information you need, or just head to walkway.org.
Gee, my kids would be so proud that I even used the term Google. So other than the Mayfest, anything else coming up in the near future?
So we're still finalizing our complete event calendar, but we were talking about Walkway at night. You're going to have another chance to experience nighttime in the park on the third Friday in May. I want to say that's May 21st. And that's, if you've never been on the Walkway at night, I cannot recommend it highly enough.
Can you give us more details about the Walkway at night? It was beautiful during the day, so.
Yeah. So that'll be your next opportunity to take advantage of a special event on the Walkway. We are, for the first time in our organization's history, the nonprofit's history, hosting a golf tournament in support of the Walkway. We're doing that at the wonderful Apple Greens Golf Course in Highland.
I'm so glad you're not doing it on the Walkway itself.
That would be a little more difficult, but the drive would be significantly longer.
You'd have to hit it straight, really straight.
1.28 miles. It could be like a par 12. So we decided to take it to a more standard venue, but one that also offers stunning views of the Hudson Valley at Apple Greens. We'll be doing that in July. If you're interested in foursomes, we haven't officially released that yet, but if you're interested in more information or foursomes, you go to walkway.org/golf and come on out and swing the sticks to help benefit the Walkway. And then if you come to Mayfest this weekend and you love it, the good news is we're doing it again in October. It's called Walktoberfest when we do it on the first weekend in October. But much of what you love about Mayfest this weekend will come back in the fall. And I don't have to tell you guys, there is nothing like autumn in the Hudson Valley.
Well, spring is kind of nice also, but you're correct. Autumn is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, spring is, especially at 6:45 when it was, 35 degrees this morning?
It's not quite as nice in February walking through a blizzard to the radio station, but
that's why you got to take advantage of things like the Walkway while you can.
While I can walk, for God's sakes. Lisa, how are you?
We're great, and we're super excited to see that our events and our performing arts venues and so much else looks to be really opening probably by Memorial Day. So we couldn't be happier. I mean, this event at the Walkway is perfectly timed with many of the announcements from the governor, the good news that we're getting from our county executive, even about our vaccination rates, which are incredibly good, as well as our infection rates, which are back down around 1%. So really, it's perfect timing for this event this weekend, and it's a great time to come visit Ulster County, but it's always a good time to visit Ulster County.
That's right.
It seems to be a great time to live in Ulster County.
Yeah, it is. It's a great time to live at
all. It is a great time to live in Ulster County. So we're looking forward to really a robust summer with music events inside and outside, our performing arts venues like Woodstock Playhouse reopening, which had been closed. So we're excited.
You have a lot of the outdoor festivals and all. They're all green lighted, at least at this point. Is that right?
Well, I am really happy to be able to say that the New Paltz Woodstock Arts and Crafts Fair, which is usually a very big event held at the fairgrounds.
Yeah.
We weren't sure that it was going to be able to be held, but it is going to be held.
Oh, that's great.
Memorial Day weekend, and it's going to be held actually across the street from the fairgrounds in what the town of New Paltz calls its Field of Dreams, their athletic fields that they have over there. So it just moved across the street because the state is still doing a mass vaccination site on the fairgrounds. So, but this is really between the Walkways event this weekend and the New Paltz Woodstock Arts and Crafts Fair, our major events, fairs, and festivals look to be coming back because these are two of our biggest, and we are certainly happy to know that they're coming back. And
sure.
I think everybody has been kind of anxiously awaiting it, and I actually think Jeff and the team at the Walkway are going to be incredibly busy.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pent-up demand.
I agree. It is pent-up demand.
I take it that masks are required, even though you're outside. Is that fair to say?
So,
I think that changed.
Jeff, you'll have to answer on your event, but what the new rules are from the CDC are, if you're able to socially distance and you're outside, you're more than 3 feet apart, you don't need your mask on.
I'm sorry, Lisa, when you said
been vaccinated.
That was
right?
this.
Isn't that right, Jeff?
That was CDC's rule of this hour?
Yeah, just recently, I think.
Of this hour.
This hour. Yeah.
Jeff, what are your rules?
So at the Mayfest event, we do need everyone to keep a mask on when they're not eating or drinking. And the reasoning being is that our interpretation of the CDC guidance, and by ours, our entire event is planned in conjunction with the Ulster County Department of Health. So we're going by their guidance. Because you're interacting with vendors, because you're interacting in close proximity, there's often places you can't remain 6 feet apart from strangers.
Mm-hmm.
We're asking everyone at our event to have a face covering on whenever they're not sampling, just for everyone's comfort and everyone's safety.
Well, I'm glad that came up.
Yeah.
2 good questions. It's amazing, Guy.
It really
two
is.
good questions.
It was wonderful actually hearing about all the good things happening at the Walkway, Jeff. We really, really appreciate you taking the time this morning to talk to us, and maybe you could just give us those hours one more time.
Absolutely. Mayfest is taking place this weekend, May 8th and 9th on the Hudson Valley Rail Trail and west approach to the Walkway over the Hudson in the Highlands. 87 Haviland Road in Highland. You can plug it right into your GPS. We're there from noon to 5 p.m. on both days. You can see all of the 90-plus local vendors that will be there, the fun activities for kids, all of the beer, wine, and spirits that you can sample by going to walkway.org/Mayfest. Again, walkway.org/Mayfest.
Thank you, Jeff. That was enlightening for even somebody that I thought knew most about the Walkway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad, and we've only just scratched the surface, so give me a call anytime. I'm happy to tell more stories.
Oh, great. Appreciate it. You certainly have an upbeat personality. We just got, I was about to say something.
Just got the finger from
I was
Lawrence.
just about to say that. I'm not sure if we're allowed to say that on the
What's
radio.
the pointer finger?
Well, I used to give Scott Harrington the middle finger. It used to be like, it's time to go, dude.
So for Lisa and Jeff, that means we have less than a minute. Are there any messages you would like to part with?
No, except that we encourage everybody to make sure they get out to this great event at the Walkway this weekend, and it's going to be great weather. Get out there with your masks on and enjoy it.
Great. Jeff?
See you on the Walkway.
I hope to.
Well, that's great.
I hope to. Good having you folks. Take care.
Yes,
Stay
thanks
well
for
and
being
healthy.
on the show. And shout out to Ronnie Jones.
And we'll see you next month, Lisa. Thank you. All right, guys. You guys did a great job today. If Tony was listening, I think he would be proud. You're probably You're probably going to get 2 little gold stars on your your time card.
That's something that I have strived for my entire life.
Well, you did a
to
good
get
job.
little
You
gold
guys have a
seal.
great day, awesome weekend, and
Tony's
we'll be back
pride.
tomorrow with Rick Remsnyder and Fran DiPetrillo.